Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley in Washington, D.C. So the principal political reality right now is the mass strike, the mass struggle. People send me emails and Twitters. What should I do? Who should I vote for? Get yourself out of the passive consumer mode of politics, sitting there on your easy chair couch, expecting a prepackaged, prefabricated political alternative that's delivered up to you so you can vote. Only for the petty bourgeois is voting the be-all and end-all of political life. Political life goes on all the time. You vote maybe once every 2 years, once every 4 years. That's not enough. For an audience of this program, you know more, and therefore with that comes a greater responsibility to those to whom much, from those to whom much has been given, much is demanded. So you've got to do more. You've got to create the alternatives. And the one obvious thing is this question, the 1% against the 99%. In my terminology, of course, it's the masses, the people in the sense of the middle class, popolo, in Machiavelli's terminology, and that against the 1% of hedge fund hyenas, zombie bankers, jackals, lampreys, the Romneys, and so forth. So now let's look at the foreign policy aspect. So, of course, there is a problem here. Again, people they want to blame me for the Afghan war. I didn't vote for the Afghan war. Ron Paul voted for the Afghan war. Ron Paul voted for the 9/11 resolution in Congress. He knew it meant the Afghan war. He voted for it. So he was for it before he was against it. Now he comes forward. He doesn't like the result of his vote. Well, I'm sorry. I was against it the whole time. I was never for it. Never believed in the 9/11 story. Never supported it in public. And there you go. So don't come whining to me about this situation, because you're getting things from people that say if you don't support Ron Paul, it means you're a warmonger. Sorry, that does not hold up. That's a lot of bunk. Now, here we go. The Washington Post. On Tuesday, January 17th, an article by Walter Pincus. Daily intelligence briefings yield clues to a president's approach to foreign policy. Now, here is a series of allegations about what goes on in the Obama White House every morning. At 9:30 a.m., Obama is briefed by his daily national security staff session in the Oval Office. It's attended by Vice President Biden, National Security Advisor Thomas E. Donilon, Chief of Staff William Daley now out, Lude is in, counterterrorism boss John O'Brennan, and the intelligence czar, Director of National Intelligence, James R. Clapper. Here we have Deputy National Security Advisor Dennis McDonough, Anthony Blinken, the National Security Advisor for Biden, on Biden's staff, and one or more intelligence community briefers. Now, we have to get this out of the way. With Anthony Blinken, we have to note that he comes from the very vigilant law firm of Winken, Blinken, and Nod. So the eternal vigilance is the price for liberty. So we're told that every morning Obama meets them at 9:30. This is rather later than somebody like Mad Dog Bush the Younger. They spend half the time on news reports and what's going on, and then they have a policy discussion, but they don't make any decisions because those are reserved to the National Security meetings, National Security Council meetings with Panetta and Clinton. Now, in all of this article, Petraeus is not mentioned. Robert Mueller is mentioned. Obama meets weekly with Mueller of the FBI. I think this is all baloney. I think this is made up from beginning to end. I don't think Obama really does this most of the time. I think Obama sits in the White House family quarters, watches sports events on television, sits around in his underwear, complains, and then pulls himself together when he can go out on the road and get some adulation. So that is just my guess, and I actually believe that this article by Walter Pincus is a direct answer to the fact that I've been calling attention for some months to the fact that it is the Principals Committee that is running the United States, not really Obama. And that would be Hillary Clinton, Leon Panetta, Donilon, that we've heard from here, Eric Holder, the Attorney General, the Police Minister, the Fouché, I guess, of the scene, of the regime, and General Petraeus. So I think we're trying to be reassured that Obama is actually running the country. I don't think he is. So that's just my take. Now, let me also, before going any further, I neglected to call attention last week to a very important article here by Howard Kurtz. Howard Kurtz has an article in the Daily Beast, January 11th. Mitt Romney's dilemma, picking a running mate if he's the GOP nominee. And we go through various names. We go through Marco Rubio. We go through Rubio, the Cuban community senator from Florida, extreme right-winger, anti-Castro interventionist. Chris Christie, the Goering of the Garden State, New Jersey. Nikki Haley with her checkered past and the many allegations against her. But above all, Petraeus. And remember, there is this book out now, not just Howard Kurtz talking about General Petraeus, but also look at this book by a guy called Hastings. It's called The Operators, and it shows on the cover the uniform of a general with all the battle ribbons and all the decorations. He's got a .45 automatic in one hand and a glass of scotch in the other hand. It's Petraeus, because the ribbons have been analyzed, and those are the ribbons that Petraeus has, and foreign decorations and what have you. So that book, The Operators by Hastings, contains a bunch of stuff about how the Obama White House fears the Petraeus candidacy. Think if just jumping ahead in our analysis, suppose the Republican clown car fights itself to a standstill. Nobody gets a majority on the first ballot of the Tampa convention, I think it is, September, the Republican convention in any case. If it's a brokered convention, and we have Jonah Goldberg calling for a brokered convention, what does this mean? Who would be the beneficiary? Who might be the dark horse who would ride in on horseback to take the Republican nomination? I've been calling attention to this for about 2 years. Petraeus remains very much a contender, although never mentioned by a lot of them. Only by the neocons, and that's who's backing him. He would be the thinking man's warmonger. All right, so that sets the stage for the foreign policy stuff. Now let's look now at the U.S.-Iranian emergency, with the Israelis, of course, playing this key role. Today, I believe we have Dempsey, the head of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff in Israel, and the question is, what's with the constant Israeli saber-rattling, the threats, the endless posturing about their existential needs and how they feel threatened and how they want to attack Iran, and then, of course, drag the United States into war. None of this circus would be going on if you had a real president. A real president would issue an ultimatum to the Israelis, make it public, and say, we are warning you not to attack Iran. The United States will continue to make its own foreign policy and will not be dragged into a foreign war by the actions of a third country, and that means you. So don't do it and make it public. That would probably lead to the fall of Netanyahu and maybe break the logjam in Israeli internal politics. Barak, the defense minister of Israel, says that the attack on Iran is not urgent right now. In other words, it's maybe coming, but it's not coming right now. Now, the U.S. has allegedly sent a letter to Iran. It's not public, but it contains apparently two things. One is a blood-curdling warning, don't block the Straits of Hormuz, and another, a proposal for talks, which the Iranians have announced. I would say, yes, do the back-channel talks. That can't hurt. As Richelieu says, negotiate with everybody all the time. We'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.